The ship Harmony's edge moved through space like a silver needle threading through black cloth. Inside the vessel, Hyunwoo checked his instruments for the third time that hour. The reading still made no sense. The planet shows signs of advanced life, he said to his partner Ji-hai, who sat at the communication station nearby. But look at these numbers. Ji-hai leaned over to see the display. The data showed a world with gravity that was higher than most civilized planets. The atmosphere had dangerous levels of oxygen. Radiation from the local star hit the surface with enough force to burn most known species. Maybe the equipment is broken, she suggested. I ran full tests twice, Hyunwoo replied. Everything works fine. Across the bridge, Captain Zethral stood like a living crystal sculpture. The Vectar captain was nearly 8 feet tall, with skin that looked like clear glass filled with moving light. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes. Survey team leader Hyunwoo, the captain said, please present your findings. Hyunwoo stood and activated the main display. A blue and green planet appeared, spinning slowly. White clouds covered much of its surface. The third planet in this system shows signs of intelligent life, Hyunwoo began. Our scans detect radio signals, primitive satellites, and what appears to be early spaceflight technology. The small, furry Nilian science officer named Pipko squeaked with excitement. How wonderful! Another species ready to join the Federation. However, Hyunwoo continued, the planet itself presents some unusual characteristics. He changed the display to show environmental data. Numbers filled the screen in red warning colors. The gravity is 30% higher than Federation standard. The atmospheric oxygen content is 21%, which is toxic to most species. Solar radiation reaches dangerous levels daily. The planet experiences frequent seismic activity, violent weather patterns, and has an active magnetic field that interferes with most electronics. Captain Zethral's crystal form darkened slightly. Are you suggesting this is a death world? The readings match Class 12 or higher classification, Hyunwoo said carefully. The bridge fell silent. Death worlds were rare and terrible places where nothing civilized could survive. The Federation had found only a few dozen in all of explored space. Most were empty rocks or gas giants with crushing pressure. Impossible, Captain Zethral chimed. No intelligent species could evolve on a death world, much less build a civilization. Your equipment must be faulty. Ji-hai spoke up from her station. Sir, I've been monitoring their communications. The signals are very complex. They show advanced mathematics, detailed scientific data, and what appears to be entertainment broadcasts. Show us these broadcasts, the captain ordered. Ji-hai's fingers moved over her controls. The main screen changed to show intercepted transmissions from the planet below. The first image showed creatures that looked somewhat like the Federation species they knew. The beings had smooth skin, walked on 2 legs, and had hair on their heads. They looked harmless enough, but then the broadcast changed. It showed one of these creatures throwing themselves from a great height, with only a cloth attached to their back. The creature fell through the air at incredible speed before the cloth opened and slowed their descent. What kind of emergency evacuation is this? Pipko squeaked in confusion. The translation matrix indicates this is recreational activity, Ji-hai said, checking her readings twice. The next broadcast was even stranger. It showed the same type of creatures standing in the path of a massive wall of water that crashed over them. Instead of running away, they seemed to be enjoying themselves. Perhaps this is some kind of religious ritual, Captain Zethral suggested. More broadcasts followed. The creatures wrestled with large, dangerous-looking animals. They climbed vertical rock faces using only their hands and feet. They rode on the backs of 4-legged beasts that could clearly crush them. In one transmission, they were cooking food over open flames while sitting, inside a structure made of cloth during what appeared to be a violent windstorm. The bridge crew watched in growing confusion as transmission after transmission showed the same pattern. These creatures seemed to seek out dangerous situations and treat them as normal parts of their lives. This must be fiction, Captain Zethral declared. No civilized species would behave this way. Sir, Ji-hai said hesitantly, the translation protocols indicate these are documentary broadcasts, not entertainment fiction. Impossible. Run the classification algorithms again. Hyunwoo worked at his station, feeding all their collected data into the Federation's standard planetary classification system. The computer processed the information for several minutes before displaying its conclusion. The screen showed a single line of text in bright red letters. Classification: Deathworld Class 15. Quarantine recommended. Every being on the bridge stared at the display in shock. Class 15 was the highest rating in the system. It meant a world so dangerous that even thinking about landing there was considered insane. The computer is clearly malfunctioning, Captain Zethral said firmly. No Class 15 Deathworld could support intelligent life, much less a technological civilization. But sir, Hyunwoo said, what if the beings evolved there? What if they adapted to survive in those conditions? The crystal captain's form flickered with agitation. You're suggesting that these creatures are natural products of a Class 15 Deathworld? That would make them— He couldn't finish the sentence. Everyone knew what creatures from Deathworlds were like. They were monsters, predators, things that the civilized galaxy avoided at all costs. Pipko looked at the environmental readings again. The radiation alone would kill most Federation species in hours. The atmospheric composition would be toxic. And look at these weather reports. The planet regularly experiences storms with winds that could tear our ship apart. Yet they live there, Ji-hai observed quietly. Not just live, they appear to thrive. Captain Zethral made his decision. We will proceed with standard first contact protocols. These readings must be wrong. The Federation has never encountered intelligent life on a Deathworld because such life cannot exist. We will make contact, welcome them to galactic civilization, and sort out these equipment errors later. Hyunwoo wanted to protest, but he knew better than to argue with the captain. Instead, he prepared the standard first contact package. It included basic mathematical concepts, star charts showing Federation space, and a friendly invitation to join the galactic community. Ji-hye, prepare the translation matrix for initial contact, the captain ordered. Use the standard peaceful species protocols. Yes, sir, she replied, though her voice carried doubt. As the ship moved closer to the blue and green world, Hyunwoo couldn't shake his concerns. Every instrument they had told the same story. This was one of the most dangerous planets they had ever encountered. Yet somehow, impossibly, an intelligent species lived there. He looked at the latest broadcast from the planet. The creatures were shown doing something called skiing, strapping boards to their feet and hurling themselves down steep, snow-covered mountains at dangerous speeds, apparently for fun. What kind of species treats mortal danger as entertainment? He wondered aloud. Ji-hai heard him and looked up from her station. Maybe we're about to find out. The ship continued its approach to Earth, carrying with it the assumption that they were about to make contact with another normal, civilized species that would be grateful to join the Federation. None of them suspected they were about to meet the products of evolution's cruelest laboratory, beings forged in the fires of a world that should have been impossible to survive. Dongmin stood in the command center of the International Space Station, watching the alien ship approach Earth through the observation window. After 3 days of frantic preparation, humanity was as ready as they could be for first contact. Are you nervous? Sun-hee asked, floating over to join him at the window. She carried a tablet containing their prepared speeches and cultural information packets. Terrified, Dongmin admitted. But this is the biggest moment in human history. We have to get it right. Below them, Earth turned slowly, showing the Pacific Ocean under swirling white clouds. It looked peaceful from space, but Dongmin knew better. Hurricane Maria was building strength in the western Pacific, and earthquake sensors were detecting unusual activity along the Ring of Fire. The alien ship is requesting landing coordinates, came a voice from Mission Control. They want to land in Florida as planned. Dongmin activated his communication headset. Control. We need to redirect them to the backup site in Nevada. Hurricane Maria is tracking toward the Florida coast. Copy that. Redirecting to Area 51. Sun-hee looked concerned. Will they understand why we're changing the location? I hope so, Dongmin said. We don't want their first experience with Earth to be getting hit by 200-mile-per-hour winds. 2 hours later, the alien ship Harmony's Edge touched down on the Nevada desert. The landing was perfect, barely disturbing the sand around the designated area. Dongmin and Sun-hee waited with the first contact team in the specially built greeting facility nearby. The ship was beautiful, like liquid silver shaped into a graceful bird. It was much larger than expected, nearly the size of a football stadium. When a section of the hull became transparent and figures became visible inside, Everyone held their breath. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. 3 figures emerged, moving carefully in environmental suits that seemed to shimmer with their own light. The tallest figure was clearly not human. It stood 8 feet tall and appeared to be made of living crystal. Its suit was elegant, form-fitting, and seemed to glow from within. When it spoke, the voice came through their translation devices as a pleasant chiming sound. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Captain Deathworld of the Galactic Federation vessel Harmony's Edge. We come in peace and friendship." Dongmin stepped forward, offering the traditional human gesture of an extended hand. "Welcome to Earth, Captain. I am Dongmin representing humanity. This is my colleague Sunhee." Captain Deathworld examined the extended hand with apparent confusion, before awkwardly attempting to mimic the gesture. The moment their hands touched, alarms began sounding from the alien's environmental suit. "Is everything all right?" Sunhee asked with concern. A smaller furry creature that looked like a cross between a rabbit and a bear spoke up in a high, squeaky voice. "Captain, your suit is registering dangerous thermal readings. This creature's body temperature is 310 Kelvin. That's normal for humans," Dongmin explained. "We run a bit warm." The third alien, a tall, thin being with purple skin, checked a handheld device. "The atmospheric readings are even worse than our sensors indicated. 21% oxygen, high nitrogen content, and trace amounts of what our database classifies as industrial toxins." "Those aren't toxins," Sunhee said. "That's just normal air." "Are your suits malfunctioning?" Captain Deathworld's crystal form flickered with what might have been nervousness. "Our suits are functioning perfectly. The issue is that your planet's environment is more challenging than we anticipated." As they spoke, the sound of thunder rolled across the desert. All 3 aliens jumped and looked around in alarm. "What was that explosive sound?" The furry one squeaked. "Just thunder," Dongmin said casually. "There's a storm system about 50 miles north of us. Don't worry, it's moving away." "Storm system?" Captain Deathworld asked. "Should we evacuate?" Sunhee laughed. "Oh no, it's not that kind of storm. Just some rain and lightning. Pretty normal stuff." The purple alien's device started beeping frantically. "Captain, I'm detecting electromagnetic discharge in the atmosphere. Multiple strikes of several million volts. That's just lightning," Sunhee explained. "It happens when electrical charges build up in storm clouds. Very common on Earth. Your planet regularly experiences multi-million volt electrical discharges?" Captain Deathworld asked in disbelief. "Sure," Dongmin said. "Lightning strikes Earth about 100 times per second. Usually it's harmless unless you're standing in the wrong place." The 3 aliens exchanged looks that suggested they were questioning their life choices. "Perhaps we could continue this meeting indoors," Captain Deathworld suggested. They moved to the greeting facility, which had been carefully designed to accommodate alien visitors. The temperature was set to a comfortable 72 degrees Fahrenheit. The lighting was soft, and they had prepared a selection of Earth foods that they hoped would be appealing to alien guests. The aliens immediately began having problems with their environmental suits again. The furry one's suit was making distressed beeping sounds while the purple alien's equipment was showing red warning lights. "I'm sorry," Sunhee said. "Is there something wrong with your life support?" "The atmospheric pressure in this structure is reading as dangerously high," the purple alien explained. "Our suits are struggling to compensate." "This is just normal sea level pressure," Dongmin said. "Actually, we're at about 4,000 feet elevation here, so it's a bit lower than what most humans are used to." "Lower?" Captain Deathworld chimed in distress. "This pressure would crush most Federation species." Sunhee brought out the prepared refreshments, hoping to move past the technical difficulties. She had selected items that seemed safe and appealing: coffee, tea, chocolate, and some mild Korean snacks. "We thought you might enjoy trying some of our local foods," she said cheerfully. The purple alien scanned the items with his device. Immediately, alarms started going off. "These substances are all highly toxic," he announced. "This dark liquid contains alkaloid compounds that would be lethal to most known species. This brown substance contains multiple toxic compounds including theobromine, which is a known poison. And these small items," he scanned the Korean snacks. "These contain capsaicin, which is used as a chemical weapon on several worlds." "Those are just mild snacks," Sunhee said, confused. "The coffee is decaffeinated, the chocolate is milk chocolate, and those are just lightly seasoned rice crackers." We specifically chose the mildest things we could find. Dongmin picked up a piece of chocolate and ate it casually. All three aliens stepped back in horror. You just consumed a lethal dose of theobromine. The furry one squeaked. It's just chocolate, Dongmin said. Humans eat this stuff for pleasure. Children especially love it. You give poison to your young. Captain Zethral asked in shock. It's not poison to us, Sunhee explained. Different species have different tolerances, I suppose. At that moment, a cat wandered into the facility. It was Sunhee's pet, a small orange tabby named Mango that she had brought along for emotional support during the stressful first contact situation. Mango approached the aliens with typical feline curiosity, sniffing in their direction. The purple alien's scanner immediately went into overdrive. Predator alert! Predator alert! Apex predator detected. That's just Mango, Sunhee said, bending down to pet the cat. He's harmless. Harmless? The furry alien squeaked in terror. That creature has retractable claws, enhanced night vision, and reflexes that mark it as a natural-born killer. Our database classifies it as a Class 7 predator. He's a house pet, Dongmin explained. Humans keep them for companionship. You keep apex predators as companions? Captain Zethral's crystal form was now flickering rapidly with distress. Mango, apparently deciding the aliens were not interesting, began grooming himself with his sandpaper tongue. Look at those dental structures, the purple alien whispered. Perfect for tearing flesh, and the way it maintains those claws. This creature is a professional killer. He mostly sleeps and eats kibble, Sunhee said. Sometimes he catches mice in the barn, but that's about it. It hunts for recreation? The furry alien asked weakly. As the aliens continued to struggle with their environmental suits and react with horror to perfectly normal Earth things, Dongmin began to realize that something fundamental was wrong with this first contact situation. Captain Zethral, he said carefully, what kind of planets do your species come from? Normal civilized worlds, the captain replied. Stable climates, reasonable atmospheric pressure, safe radiation levels, and proper atmospheric composition. And you've never encountered a planet like Earth? We've surveyed thousands of worlds, the purple alien said. But none like this. According to our classification system, your planet is, well, it's barely habitable. Sunhee and Dongmin exchanged glances. They were beginning to understand that Earth might not be as normal as they had always assumed. Kyung-soo stood before the massive holographic display in the Federation Council chambers, looking up at hundreds of alien representatives from across the galaxy. Each species was stranger than the last, crystalline beings, gaseous clouds, mechanical constructs, and creatures that defied easy description. Honored members of the Council, Kyung-soo began, his voice carried by translation devices to every corner of the chamber. I stand before you not as a predator, but as a representative of humanity, a species that learned to live in harmony with one of the galaxy's most challenging worlds. Beside him, Haewon activated their prepared presentation. The first image showed Earth from space, beautiful and blue against the darkness. You see a death world, Haewon said, addressing the council. We see home. Council member Velthara, a tall being that looked like a walking tree made of metal, spoke in a voice like grinding gears. The evidence is clear, human delegates. Your species evolved on a Class 15 death world and achieved dominance through superior predatory capabilities. This makes you a threat to civilized space. With respect, Council member, Kyung-soo replied. You're looking at the evidence through the lens of fear rather than understanding, he gestured. And Haewon changed the display to show human cities. But instead of showing them as conquests over nature, the presentation highlighted how humans had learned to work with their environment. Humans didn't conquer Earth, Kyung-soo continued. We learned to dance with it. Our cities flex with earthquakes rather than breaking. Our buildings are designed to bend with hurricane winds. Our agriculture adapts to changing weather patterns. The display showed footage of modern Tokyo during an earthquake. The building swayed but did not fall. People calmly followed earthquake protocols, helping each other to safety. Your species has weapons capable of destroying planets, pointed out a floating jellyfish-like creature with a voice like bubbling water. And we chose not to use them, Haewon responded. The same species that could destroy worlds instead created international laws to prevent such destruction. We developed global cooperation specifically to avoid extinction. But your planet made you strong, Velthara insisted, stronger than any known species. This strength makes you dangerous. Kyung-Soo nodded. Yes, Earth made us strong, but it also taught us something more important: compassion. The display changed to show human rescue operations, firefighters running into burning buildings to save strangers, Coast Guard teams battling massive storms to reach ships in distress, search and rescue operations in mountains, forests, and disaster zones. Every day, humans risk their lives to save others, Kyung-Soo explained. Not for profit, not for territory, but because we believe every life has value. These could be isolated examples, suggested a crystalline being whose voice sounded like singing crystal. Propaganda to make your species appear benevolent. At that moment, alarms began sounding throughout the council chambers. Emergency lights flashed red as automated systems announced a crisis. Emergency beacon detected in Sector 7. Federation transport vessel Unity's Dream experiencing critical system failure. Crew of 47 Federation citizens in immediate danger. The main display switched to show the location of the distressed ship. It was falling toward Earth's atmosphere. Its engines dead. Life support failing. The ship will impact in Earth's northern Pacific Ocean, the computer announced. Atmospheric entry will occur in 18 minutes. Crew survival probability 0%. Velthara's branches rustled with agitation. A tragic loss, but there is nothing to be done. No rescue is possible in such conditions. Actually, Kyung-Soo said, activating his communication device, there is something we can do. He spoke quickly in Korean to someone on Earth, then turned back to the council. I've authorized an immediate rescue operation, he announced. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices and sounds from dozens of species. Impossible, Velthara declared. The conditions are too extreme. The ship will hit Earth's ocean during a massive storm system. No Federation vessel could survive such an operation. You're right, Kyung-Soo agreed. No Federation vessel could survive it, but human vessels can. The main display showed the storm system approaching the crash site, winds of over 200 kilometers per hour, waves reaching heights of 30 meters. Lightning strikes every few seconds. This is madness, the jellyfish creature bubbled. You're sending your people to their deaths for nothing. We're sending our people to save lives, Haewon corrected. Because that's what humans do. The display switched to show human rescue teams mobilizing across the Pacific. Coast Guard vessels designed to operate in extreme weather launched from ports in Japan, Alaska, and Hawaii. Aircraft carriers changed course to provide support platforms. These conditions would destroy any civilized rescue craft. Velthara protested. That's why we don't use civilized rescue craft, Kyung-Soo explained. We use human-designed equipment built specifically for Earth's hostile environment. The council watched in growing amazement as human rescue vessels powered through waves that would have crushed lighter craft. Helicopters designed for hurricane operations flew through winds that would have grounded any Federation aircraft. The storm system is Category 5, Haewon narrated as they watched. That's the highest rating on Earth's hurricane scale. No human should be operating in these conditions either. Yet they are, Kyung-Soo pointed out. The display showed the moment of impact as the Federation ship hit Earth's ocean. The crash was catastrophic. The vessel broke apart on impact, scattering debris and survivors across the churning waters. Immediately, human rescue teams moved into action. Coast Guard swimmers jumped from helicopters into the stormy seas, fighting massive waves to reach alien survivors. Rescue vessels battled through conditions that the Federation had declared impossible, pulling Federation citizens from the water one by one. The Council watched in stunned silence as humans repeatedly dove into deadly waters to save alien crew members. Many of the survivors were species that humans had never seen before, but the rescue teams worked with the same dedication they would show for their own kind. That human just sacrificed his safety equipment to keep an alien survivor alive, the crystalline being observed, its voice full of wonder. "Look at that one," the jellyfish creature said. "She's been in those conditions for over an hour, but she won't leave until she finds the last survivor." The rescue operation continued for 6 hours. By the end, all 47 Federation crew members had been pulled from the ocean and given medical treatment. 3 human rescue workers had been seriously injured in the operation, but all had survived. As the storm cleared and the rescued Federation crew was transferred to medical facilities, the council chamber remained silent. Finally, Velthara spoke. "Your people risked their lives for strangers. For aliens they had never met from species they had never encountered. That's what humans do, Kyung-soo said simply. When someone needs help, we help. It doesn't matter who they are or where they come from. But why? Asked the crystalline being. What do you gain from such risks? Hae-won answered. We gain the knowledge that we did the right thing. Earth taught us that we're all in this together. Every life matters, whether it's human or alien. The conditions your people operated in today would be fatal to most Federation species, Belthara observed. Yet you treated it as a routine operation. For Earth-trained humans it was routine, Kyung-soo explained. We've been dealing with hostile environments for our entire evolutionary history. But we learned to use that strength to protect others, not to dominate them. The jellyfish creature's voice carried a new tone of respect. Your species could have used today's crisis to demonstrate your superiority over Federation rescue capabilities. Instead, you used it to save Federation lives. That's the difference between predators and guardians, Hae-won said. Predators take what they want. Guardians protect what they love. Belthara's branches rustled as he consulted with other council members through private communication channels. After several minutes, he spoke again. The council will recess to consider today's evidence. But I must ask, if humans are not predators, what are you? Kyung-soo looked up at the hundreds of alien representatives, thinking of the human rescue workers still battling the storm below to make sure no one was left behind. We're what Earth made us, he said. We're survivors who learned that the best way to survive is to make sure everyone survives together. The council chamber fell silent as the representatives contemplated this answer. Outside, Earth continued turning. Its storms raging, its creatures hunting, its volcanoes smoldering. The same deadly world that had forged humanity into something the galaxy had never seen before. Something strong enough to survive anywhere, yet compassionate enough to risk everything for strangers. Minho floated through the corridors of the Earth Federation Joint Research Station, still getting used to the low-gravity environment they had created for their alien colleagues. 1 year had passed since first contact, and the changes had been remarkable. The morning briefing starts in 10 minutes, Yoo-jin called out as she drifted past, carrying a stack of data tablets. As the station's chief xenoanthropologist, she had been working around the clock to document the cultural exchange between humans and the dozens of Federation species now working on Earth. Any word from the council? Minho asked, catching a handrail to stop his motion. The final classification decision comes today, Yoo-jin replied. Whatever they decide, it's going to change everything. They made their way to the main conference room, where representatives from 12 different Federation species were already assembled. The room had been carefully designed to accommodate everyone. Environmental controls for species that needed different atmospheric mixtures, gravity fields that could be adjusted for comfort, and translation devices that could handle the most complex linguistic patterns. Captain Zethral, now serving as the Federation's liaison to Earth, stood at the center of the room. His crystal form had taken on new colors over the past year, warm golds and blues that hadn't been there during first contact. Friends and colleagues, he began, his chiming voice carrying easily through the translation systems. Today marks a historic moment. The Galactic Federation Council has reached their decision regarding Earth's classification and humanity's place in the galaxy. Minho felt his heart race. Everything they had worked toward for the past year came down to this moment. As you know, Captain Zethral continued, the Council faced an unprecedented situation. Never before had we encountered intelligent life on a Class 15 Deathworld. Our existing frameworks had no provisions for such a discovery. Yoo-jin squeezed Minho's hand. They both knew that if the Council had decided humans were too dangerous, this research station would be the last human contact with galactic civilization. The Council has made their decision, Captain Zethral announced. Earth is officially classified as a Class 15 Deathworld. This classification is accurate and will not be changed. Several alien representatives shifted nervously. This part of the decision had been expected. However, the captain continued, humanity has been granted a new classification that has never been used before. A holographic display activated, showing the official Federation seal and a new symbol beneath it, a blue and green circle surrounded by protective hands. Humanity is hereby classified as adaptive symbionts, Captain Zethral announced. You are the first species in Federation history to achieve symbiosis with a Class 15 death world, rather than conquering or fleeing from it. The room erupted in celebration. Alien voices, chimes, and sounds Minho had never heard before filled the air as the various species expressed joy in their own ways. What does this classification mean for us? Yujin asked when the celebration died down. Clixavan, the purple-skinned scientist who had worked closely with Earth's research teams, stepped forward to answer. It means humanity is recognized not as predators but as guardians. Your species has demonstrated the ability to live in harmony with the most hostile environments in the galaxy. More than that, added Pipko, the small furry scientist whose initial terror of Earth had transformed into fascination. Humans have shown us that death worlds don't have to remain dead. With human guidance, these worlds could become habitable for other species. Minho looked around the room at their alien colleagues. Over the past year, he had watched as species after species had overcome their fear of Earth and humans. The breakthrough had come when they realized that humans weren't adapted just for survival, but for cooperation. The implications are enormous, Captain Zethral explained. The Federation has identified over 200 worlds that were classified as uninhabitable due to extreme conditions. With human expertise, many of these worlds could potentially support life. Yujin activated her data display, showing some of the projects they had already begun. Human-designed habitats are already being tested on 3 different death worlds. The preliminary results are promising. But perhaps most importantly, Clixavan added, humans have taught us something we didn't know we were missing. What's that? Minho asked. Courage, Pipko answered. Not the courage of predators, but the courage of those who choose to help others despite the risks. The display changed to show footage from the rescue operation that had convinced the Council to give humanity a chance. Federation crew members from that day had become some of humanity's strongest advocates. Your rescue of our people during that storm demonstrated something we had never seen before, Captain Zethral explained. A species willing to risk everything for strangers with no expectation of reward. It wasn't courage, Minho said. It was just the right thing to do. That, Yujin added, is exactly why the Council made the right decision. The celebration continued as more details of the new classification were revealed. Humanity would have full membership in the Federation, but with special responsibilities. Human teams would lead exploration efforts on dangerous worlds. Human-designed technology would help make hostile environments safer for other species, and most importantly, humans would serve as guardians for the galaxy's most vulnerable frontier worlds. There's something else, Captain Zethral said as the formal briefing concluded. The Council has approved the first joint colonization mission. Humans and Federation species working together to establish a settlement on Kepler 442b. The ice world with the active volcanoes? Yujin asked in excitement. The same one that was classified as too dangerous for any known species, Clixavan confirmed. But with human expertise in hostile environment survival and Federation technology for life support, the Council believes it's possible. Minho looked out the station's main viewport at Earth below. The blue and green world turned slowly, showing the hurricane systems, volcanic activity, and dangerous beauty that had shaped humanity. It looked the same as always, but everything had changed. You know what I think? Yujin said, joining him at the viewport. What? I think Earth knew what it was doing all along. It wasn't trying to kill us. It was preparing us. Preparing us for what? For this, she said, gesturing at the diverse group of species working together in the station. For becoming the galaxy's guardians. For helping other species survive in places they never thought they could live. Minho nodded, understanding what she meant. Earth's harsh environment hadn't created monsters. It had created a species strong enough to survive anywhere, but wise enough to use that strength to protect others. The first Federation colony ships will arrive next month, Captain Zethral announced to the room. We'll be establishing research stations in the Antarctic, the Sahara Desert, and the Mariana Trench. Federation scientists will work alongside human experts to learn survival techniques that can be applied to hostile worlds throughout the galaxy. And the Academy? Pipko asked hopefully. The Federation Extreme Environment Academy will open on schedule, the captain confirmed. Human instructors will train Federation personnel in survival techniques for Class 10 through 15 worlds. As the briefing concluded, and the various species began returning to their work, Minho remained at the viewport with Yujin. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if the Council had decided differently? He asked. No, Eugen replied. Earth didn't spend millions of years forging humanity just to have us fail at the first test. We were always meant to be here, helping others survive impossible places. Below them, Earth continued its eternal dance, storms raging across oceans, tectonic plates shifting, volcanoes breathing fire into the sky, the same deadly processes that had shaped humanity into the galaxy's newest guardians. Besides, Eugen added with a smile, can you imagine trying to quarantine humans? We'd probably find a way to turn the quarantine ships into exploration vessels and accidentally discover 3 new solar systems. Minho laughed. She was probably right. Earth had made humans into survivors, but more than that, it had made them into explorers, protectors, and bridge builders. The galaxy had just become a much smaller, safer place. Outside the viewport, a new day was beginning on Earth, and throughout the galaxy, species that had never dreamed of surviving on dangerous worlds were learning that with the right teachers, even the most impossible places could become home. Tae-kyung had never expected his career as a xenobiologist to start with an emergency call at 3 a.m. But here he was, stumbling into the hastily converted laboratory at the Seoul National University, where the Federation's emergency science team had set up their equipment. Dr. Tae-kyung, the tall, purple-skinned alien named Klixvan, greeted him. Thank you for coming so quickly. We have a situation that requires immediate attention. Tae-kyung rubbed his eyes and looked around the lab. Alien equipment filled every available space, humming and blinking with strange lights. Several other scientists, both human and alien, worked frantically at various stations. What kind of situation? Tae-kyung asked. Klixvan gestured to a large display screen that showed what looked like a massive database. The Federation Council has ordered an emergency reclassification of your planet. Our initial surveys may have been incorrect. Incorrect how? We may have accidentally made first contact with the inhabitants of a Class 15 death world, Klixvan said quietly. Tae-kyung stared at him. I'm sorry, what's a Class 15 death world? The most dangerous planetary classification in Federation space, Klixvan explained. Worlds so hostile that they are considered uninhabitable by any known form of life. We have found fewer than a dozen such worlds in all of explored space, and they are all barren wastelands. Bo-Ra, Tae-kyung's research partner, arrived carrying coffee for both of them. She had been working with the alien scientists for 2 days straight, helping them understand Earth's biosphere. The problem, Bo-Ra said, sitting down heavily in a chair, is that according to every Federation database, Earth is impossible. Impossible how? Tae-kyung asked. Klixvan activated a holographic display that showed Earth from space, rotating slowly. Red warning indicators covered almost the entire surface. Your planet experiences regular seismic activity that would be considered catastrophic on most worlds, he began. The atmospheric composition is toxic to 70% of known Federation species. Solar radiation levels exceed safety limits by a factor of 10. Weather patterns include regular storms with wind velocities that would destroy most structures. And the gravity, what's wrong with our gravity? Tae-kyung interrupted. It's 30% higher than Federation standard, Bo-Ra explained. Most aliens can't even walk normally here without mechanical assistance. Klixvan changed the display to show various Earth creatures, but the truly impossible part is your planet's ecosystem. Every major life form on Earth would be classified as an extinction-level threat on civilized worlds. The display showed a grizzly bear. This creature weighs over 300 kilograms and can run at speeds of 60 kilometers per hour. Its claws are 15 centimeters long and its bite force exceeds 8,000 newtons. On any Federation world, the appearance of such a creature would trigger planetary evacuation. That's just a bear, Tae-kyung said. They mostly eat fish and berries. You have hundreds of these creatures roaming your wilderness areas, Klixvan said in disbelief. And humans regularly enter the same areas for recreation. The display changed to show a great white shark. This aquatic predator can grow to over 6 meters in length and has a bite force of 18,000 newtons. Its sensory capabilities allow it to detect prey from vast distances. Humans swim in the same waters where these creatures live, Bo-Ra added. For fun, Klixvan looked physically ill. Your species voluntarily enters the domain of apex predators for entertainment purposes. The catalog continued. Venomous snakes that could kill with a single bite. Spiders whose venom caused tissue death. Crocodiles that had remained unchanged for millions of years because they were already perfect killing machines. Lions, tigers, wolves, polar bears, and hundreds of other creatures that would each individually justify quarantine procedures on any civilized world. And this is just the large fauna, Klixvan said weakly. We haven't even begun to catalog the microscopic threats. Your planet is home to viruses and bacteria that could wipe out entire Federation worlds. Tae-kyung was starting to understand the scope of the problem. So what you're saying is that from your perspective, Earth looks like hell. Hell is a good comparison, Klixvan agreed. But the impossible part isn't that such a world exists. It's that intelligent life evolved here. And not just survived, but thrived. Bora pulled up another display, this one showing human settlements. Humans live in every environment on Earth. Arctic regions where temperatures drop below -40 degrees. Deserts where daytime temperatures exceed 50 degrees. Mountain regions where the air is too thin for most species to breathe. Even areas with dangerous levels of natural radiation. You have permanent research stations in Antarctica, Klixvan said, showing footage of humans working in the polar environment. A frozen wasteland where the temperature never rises above freezing, and darkness lasts for months at a time. Yet humans volunteer to work there. The Chernobyl exclusion zone has become a wildlife preserve, Bora added. Humans study the area regularly, even though radiation levels would be lethal to most Federation species. Tae-kyung looked at the data streaming across multiple displays. Every piece of evidence painted the same picture. Earth was a nightmare world that should have been impossible to inhabit. There's more, Klixvan said reluctantly. We've been analyzing your historical records. Your species didn't just adapt to survive on Earth, you conquered it. The display showed human achievements throughout history, cities built in earthquake zones, massive engineering projects that diverted rivers and reshaped landscapes, ships that crossed oceans filled with deadly storms and predators. You built civilizations in areas regularly struck by hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and tsunamis, Klixvan continued. When natural disasters destroyed your settlements, you rebuilt them in the same locations. Where else would we rebuild? Tae-kyung asked. Any sane species would relocate to safer areas, Klixvan replied. But humans seem to view natural disasters as temporary inconveniences rather than existential threats. Bora activated another display showing modern human activities. Even your recreational activities are beyond Federation comprehension. Rock climbing, skydiving, deep-sea diving, mountain climbing, skiing, surfing. You deliberately seek out dangerous situations for entertainment, Klixvan said. Federation psychologists are struggling to understand why any intelligent species would develop such behaviors. It's fun, Tae-kyung said simply. Fun. Klixvan repeated the word as if trying to understand an alien concept. You find mortal danger enough fun? Not mortal danger, Bora corrected. Manageable risk. Humans have always pushed the boundaries of what's possible. At that moment, an alarm sounded throughout the laboratory. A holographic display materialized showing the seal of the Galactic Federation Council. Emergency session in progress, came an automated voice. All research teams report immediately. Klixvan's skin color shifted to a darker purple. The Council is making their decision. If Earth is officially reclassified as a Class 15 death world, humanity will be classified as apex predators under Federation law. What does that mean? Tae-kyung asked. It means your species would be considered too dangerous for integration into galactic civilization. Klixvan explained. The Federation would be required to establish a quarantine around your solar system to prevent human expansion into space. Bora stood up quickly. They can't do that. Humans aren't predators. We're just adapted to our environment. The Federation has never encountered intelligent life on a death world before, Klixvan said. The legal frameworks assume that any species capable of surviving such conditions must be inherently hostile. Tae-kyung looked at all the data they had collected. Every piece of evidence supported the Federation's fears. Earth was objectively one of the most dangerous planets ever discovered. Humans had not only survived there, but had become the dominant species. How long do we have? He asked. 30 galactic standard days, Klixvan replied. You must prove that humanity is not a threat to galactic civilization. And if we can't? Klixvan's expression was grim. Then Earth will be quarantined indefinitely. Humanity will be contained to prevent you from spreading throughout the galaxy. Bora sat back down, overwhelmed by the enormity of the task ahead. How do you prove that an entire species isn't dangerous when all the evidence suggests they evolved to be the most successful predators on one of the galaxy's most hostile worlds? Taekyung looked out the laboratory window at Seoul's skyline. Millions of humans going about their daily lives completely unaware that their species' future in the galaxy hung in the balance. I guess we better figure that out, he said.
Fast.